Welcome everyone to Hacking Infinity, the Eschaton. How is everybody? Actually, before I jump to just saying how is everybody, we uh, we have a new player. Lessons learned. How are you doing?
Doing fine. A little bit chilly here, with relatively speaking, but aside from that, I'm pretty good. I'm glad to be in the program.
Yeah. Glad to have you. Um, let me see.
Yay. I'm a picture of a little
Yes.
animal? Hopefully.
Yes. Oh, I should probably, yeah. I get well. There's a number of things that we're gonna need to discuss before jumping in that we started on before going live. Um, uh, like for sure we're going to use Spooks. You're going to be playing Quasi rather than Boat, and I need to shift some more things around that I didn't notice in terms of overlay.
Yay.
Can I fill the dead air? I got a whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I finished reading a manga today called I Am Hero, and it was immensely powerful and vital and hugely disturbing. But yeah, it was a really powerful work on mental illness and human connectivity, and it thoroughly moved me to my core. I think it's possibly the best manga I've ever read. So yeah, if you've got a high threshold for deeply disturbing stuff, that's definitely a good read. So yeah, shouting out to I Am Hero.
Mm.
All right. Excellent.
I know.
Well, talking about sci-fi, I and gone late Amazon rivals. I have the Collapsing Empire, which I
Ooh.
started reading thanks to Adam Coble, who suggested it. He's gonna probably base a new game on it soon. I was like, well, I talked to John Scalzi in the past. He's a great writer, and I'm gonna give him a try after Old Man's War. So I started it. It is, I would say that his writing is very blunt.
Ah.
In other words, he's someone who gets to the point very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have the sort of, that sort of aura that many sci-fi and fantasy writers have, where it's like there's a little bit distance between the narrator and the situation, sort of coloring, giving that special sheen. It's like, no, if this is happening right now, which is a welcome change, right? It makes the language, the directness of it is very good. Also, somebody who has the, in Spanish, cojones, to put the first name that appears, the written name of the character in the book being literally bananas, although he really put it in Spanish, guineos, which means that. It was like, you got to be kidding me. That sort of puts the entire tone right there. Like, okay, this is the kind of book we're dealing with. Good to know.
Yeah, don't we have
Sorry.
Swan Song season 2 or Swan Song 2 this year?
Yeah.
After that.
And I think he was going to base it a lot on the Collapsing Empire. Oh,
Please, Brad, we need you.
Excuse me.
Who will do
Don't
the overlays?
die. Stop dying.
wow.
Please spare a moment of reflection for our dearly departed host.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They did their best in a trying time, a trying space time.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry about that.
And I also just remembered that the Court of Swords live show is right now.
Yes.
So, unless you're watching this in the future and or the past,
Yes.
in which case, never mind.
Yeah.
They
Perfectly
did
fine.
a secret test stream last night of the Dark Souls board game.
Mm.
Nice.
People yelling danger sense just the whole time. It was great.
It's definitely my need to catch up ones.
Oh, I went to see Black Panther, and I don't know if it's just that the seventh exact same movie was the one that broke the camel's back, but I was just a bit like, this is fine. I mean, I put it on a kind of Ant-Man, yeah, the second
I'm
one
going to see it tonight. So
It's fine.
Yeah.
Michael B. Jordan is like phenomenal in it. He steals.
I read a tweet where someone's like, I would like to thank him for at one point taking his shirt off and never putting it back on again. I'm like,
yeah, that is. Oh
Alright.
my god, he is thick. Like he is.
Yeah.
He is a. Oh my.
he's got some good stuff going on. I gotta say, as an impartial viewer.
No,
Appreciate it.
my insides fell out. I just
Sure.
splooged all over the cinema floor. It was glorious.
Classic response, yeah.
Yeah,
What happens?
I imagine there were a lot of oh my's
Yeah.
in the theater.
And gasps and
Oh yeah, yeah. There you go. You know,
Yeah.
it's fair. It's more than fair. We're about to, especially in superhero movies, where we see a lot of low cut dresses and the like, and the guys are just.
I was gonna say it's triangle men, where they're just real wide up top, and then they go to a little waist with their running legs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were a group of like 7 teenage girls behind me, and they went nuts. They were
They were enthusiastic for the
they were
cinema
rioting.
presentation.
Oh my god!
Yeah, they put the super and superhero, I guess.
Yeah.
They were not a fan of the Chris Pratt mustache. They were like, "Oh, what have you done, Chris Pratt? You've got mustache. Stop it."
Yeah, that
I would
mustache.
like him with sideburns.
It totally ruined the second movie.
Yeah.
The second Guardian.
Very.
That was what did it. It wasn't anything to do with.
But
the plot
speaking
or
of
something.
space adventures with mustaches,
Oh, okay.
Yes.
we
Hello.
should,
Oh, but I
we should
was-
focus down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did actually want to enthuse over Black Panther briefly, though.
I caution because I haven't seen it
Okay,
yet.
okay.
And
No, okay,
anything
so,
you guys say will roll in my head nonstop while I'm watching the film.
Okay.
Same here.
So,
Yeah.
no plot
Even
point.
if it's like, oh,
but,
he's
like-
still watching it. No, like literally anything you say. So if you
Okay,
could just
okay.
not at
even-
all.
Okay,
No.
I liked it.
Somebody mentioned something about like a soundtrack song once for one of these movies, and I could not get in the movie.
You were just
because
like waiting for
they
that.
mentioned
that
it the
song
day
and that's
before.
That's the
Yeah,
only thing. Okay.
So,
Okay.
literally, yeah. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Yeah, they're like, well, it's not spoilers, it's this thing. I'm like, that's still, nope.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll move on. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's start figuring out where we are, where we were. I guess the first thing is the universe. Are we going to? Is there a strong feeling towards?
We're in the second universe with
Okay, so there is a desire to
With boat
merge the two
and-
continuities. To
oh yes.
okay,
When you slider it or voyager it, you can do anything.
okay, yeah, no problem. I don't even think it needs necessarily needs a clever technological reasoning. That this can just be
Just is.
a dimension, very close to the first one, in which quasi happen to be have been here all the time, alongside the squee, and it's all good.
So
And I would
was thinking
really love to
if-
hear what. I'm sorry, but I'd love to hear what Spook was singing muted.
Oh, I was doing the floating through space, doing that pose music, which is of course
Yeah.
Or at least that's what I hum while I'm hurtling through the vacuum of space.
It reminds me of a certain robot whose name, if I were to say it in somewhere in Britain, people go like, "No, mate, that's wrong. You don't say that." Yeah,
Which robot are you talking about?
Bender, and when he went to
Ah,
space, yeah,
Right. The name in itself. I thought you meant that the UK had a different translation for it.
No,
and I
no,
was
no, no,
like-
no, 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 no. It's a name. Yeah, it's a. I heard. I
Yes.
saw one of the TV talks place like, yes, they named the robot that way, and then people in Britain went like, really? Yeah, to
Yeah.
go there. But people got away very
Mhm.
quickly, so it doesn't matter.
If anything, it kind of adds to the charm.
True.
Okay.
Meanwhile, in Hacking Infinity, the Eschaton.
Yes, yes.
Yes,
Uh,
yes.
So, I guess the next thing to figure out uh, uh, is to figure is regarding Quasi where you where you want to go. Like uh, the last thing that happened with them, as I recall, is that they were again floating in space after having uh, uh, murdered their entire organization,
Purge.
purged,
Hmm.
and failing to do it permanently,
Mhm.
but trying.
Oh, how I try. Yeah, I mean, I guess I imagine that I would literally like float through space and then like bump onto someone's windshield at a point that would
Okay.
be interesting to the narrative, or like
Yes.
I, smash down into a crater, or just I literally, Kool-Aid guy into a narratively appropriate moment.
Yeah.
But
Which
I have
helps
four
because I
ships
do,
and
I do have a
also
ship.
a mountain.
Yeah.
Nice.
I have a ship, so yeah, a very stealthy one apparently.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So we could just uh, we could just pick up from there. At the very last moment, there had been an incoming call from a committee chair, but we can, depending on, but we could cut that part out to introduce Jakurt, uh, uh, or okay, I'm totally up for that. But I want to.
The crashing window could be the hard open.
Yeah. But before
Sorry,
we...
cold open.
Yeah.
As soon as I said, I'm like, nope, that's not. No, it's another word.
I mean, I knew what you meant.
Yeah. As long as we all
Um,
understand each other.
Well, I guess the one thing is that because like more time has passed in like the real world, I would just like it to be reflected that say Quasi has been floating through space for a unit of time, and thus if I have reflected, they have also had time to reflect. So obviously,
Like the ice on your eyes or on the machine that you're in. The date chronology like blinking, malfunctioning a little bit. Maybe a couple of asteroid marks.
More just for my own like headcanon, but basically I'm in like a put me in coach mode where I think we should start with one of the others, and then
Okay.
When it seems fun or interesting, I'll
Okay.
appear.
I'm fine with that, but I do want to talk a little bit about where you want to go with the character first. Specifically, a lot of the Eschaton is sort of based around the idea that you have your own organization. Like there's like a whole bunch of moves that are tied to it, yada. Do you want do you specifically want to try what it's like without having one, or do you want to reconstitute the your clone army, or would you be interested in seeing what develops in terms of a new organization coalescing around you for whatever reason?
Yeah, I'd probably go with like a fresh beginning. I guess I want to kind of explore failure. Like in a perfect world, I would just not have an organization, but it is such a core part of the game that I feel I should have one, and so will. So yeah, I feel it's maybe a new one starting up around me, and them trying to come to terms with failure, and so starting a new one probably.
May I suggest something, perhaps? Since you've been floating space and incommunicado, I suppose, from the rest of the universe or whatever universe we are in now, perhaps the people who did survive the purge have been trying to figure out what happened and why, and maybe create a sort of a series of mythological or ideas about you and the position. So who you were, whatever you were before, and what they believe it's now are radically different. So as you re-enter the story, you find yourself with a version of yourself that is in the public, perhaps, because we're talking about organizations here, at odds with who you think you were, and especially if you were, spending that time sort of thinking about your position of yourself and what have you. I mean, that's just idea. Just like to float around, literally.
We got a math squad.
Excellent.
But yeah, that sounds interesting. I'm responding positively to that.
Okay. Cool. So that covered. Let's let me see. And I just want to verify that Adazer, you're still playing Pteranodon.
I'm still yes, I am still Pteranodon. Leader of my squee.
Yes.
Because in this universe, yes, I have jobs to do. I have a long lineage of being a sentient creature, and it's definitely not all a lie. I have work to do, important works.
Excellent. And I guess I'll just move Boat over to sort of the NPC category rather than like saying that no, there never was a boat. It
that would be another universe jump.
Yes. But okay, so all that established, let's go ahead and look in on Jakurt and see see where we go. I guess let's just before we do that, we should talk a little bit about and I know there's always but this first thing, Dazer, if you could go over from your perspective what has gone on before, as a regional intelligence director, Jakurt would probably be privy to a fair amount of it, not necessarily all of it, but a fair amount.
Okay, so from my understanding, Boat arrived in this sector a number of time measurements ago, and they brought with them a uplifted species on their ship. And this uplifted species loves to research things, and sort of as a how to put it, nope, that's not how you work a MacBook. You may have heard that my species of tiny little deer people cordoned off an area on a planet, sort of like rented some research space in agreement and accord with the people who owned the planet at the time to look into uplifting another species. And then there was a bit of a tussle where the people on the planet came across my people, and through no fault of my own, in self-defense, massacred a number of my own little individual, innocent, and other I words creatures who are only just doing their little researchy job that may, or probably definitely not, but there's a very small chance that their primal instincts took over, but they are very, very small. And we're no match.
Oh, I see.
So there's been a bit of a political cleanup as to our current rights, and also there's been some radicalization of my people, and there was a brief accusation of them kidnapping us, and rumors of genocide and tracking versus our species. But I'm pretty sure I have that on lockdown. But that's a hush hush. You don't know about that one. But yes, my people are just trying to do research as they were promised to, and they are being persecuted unfairly. But they cannot leave this planet as they have a very. This is the only place where this thing's happened, and so they're trying to continue their work as dutifully as they can, with minimal subterfuge and A-team helicopter shenanigans. But not a negligible amount of that.
The amount is not exactly zero, I suppose.
Exactly. It's not zero, but it's not more than you would expect. If you have an open mind.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that sounds more or less fair. I mean,
do you want to describe it from the other side of that scenario? A perhaps slightly less biased viewpoint.
That might be good too. I mean, yeah. Go for that.
No, you should do that.
Oh, I should do that.
Oh,
because
okay.
you're the other side. I can't be unbiased on my own viewpoint, Brett. That's
Okay.
the hazards of
so, no. Okay, so the person that Pteranodon's people has been sort of engaged with in a somewhat unpleasant fashion, or maybe more than just somewhat unpleasant. There's definitely I don't know if there's been actual genocide, but there's been some level of warfare. Was from their perspective just had some people who are going out through neutral territory happened upon a bunch of the squee squee who attacked them unprovoked, and then they to defend themselves wound up killing all of the squee squee.
Yeah.
Which
my whole outboard research team on that planet.
Yeah.
Not everyone on the planet, mind you, but like
just the outer.
Yes.
And that touched touched off the tensions. Subsequently, they found out that some of their some of the squeaky found out that some of their people were being held in a one of O'Henry's facilities.
Sorry, O'Henry is the person Brad is playing, and they are squid folk.
Okay.
Tentacle ball, not squids, just a tentacle ball.
Yes. And I should also point out that they are actually they're humans in this tentacle ball form. It's like fashionable. On Dirt is the name of the planet, actually, but spelled more interestingly than DRRT.
Also, they're a dickhead.
Yeah. Like
nice.
objectively, they are.
That's it.
They are kind of a dick.
Could be nicer.
Yeah.
Goes with a whole ball of flesh with tentacles, I suppose. Yeah.
Yes.
That.
And, no, some of them are good people. It's just this one guy.
Yeah. And
the main O'Henry.
Yeah. And whether or not that initial incident was their fault or not. Um, the medical experiments on a sentient species is that I mean it's hard to interpret that as okay in any fashion.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah. Uh, but the reaction to it was to break into a facility where where it was believed that the experiments were happening.
Yeah, Squee Squee
And-
rightfully extricated and rescued their captured and experimented on fellowship, but not all.
Yes,
Cool.
yes, some but not all.
Yeah.
Um,
Discovered terrible researches.
yes, um, and
You're like,
and
oh,
then-
I wish you hadn't found that. Oh dear.
And many a cow too.
Yes.
And I don't remember exactly how it played out, but I'm looking at this
Like
filled
that
out
specific
clock.
event?
Yeah. Well, the sort of separate thing. I'm looking at this filled out clock of capstone messaging. I know that as things played out, uh, capstone sort of had like a breakthrough in terms of being able to.
Oh yeah,
sort
they
of
set up
contact-
pinball machines in my my research rec room.
Yes, yes. Addictive ones, very addictive ones.
Yes.
Because
I remember this now.
yes,
That
okay.
little
Yeah.
eyes.
So,
I remember
uh,
that little eyes.
Imagine a tiny deer playing pinball. Just
I'm trying,
deer.
and I'm succeeding. That's trouble.
So Capstone is a corporation, an interstellar corporation, in a time when corporations are sort of looked down upon, like the overall meta society is I don't want to call them like the Federation exactly, but it's
Post currency.
yeah, it's definitely you know, post like it's post currency. You could call it post scarcity in that there's very few things that there's not that there isn't availability of plenty of. There are cornucopia machines which not which are fairly accessible. Like you can there's like a reputation economy going on, rather than like full on everybody can have everything. But it's you know, like the standard uh, uh, what you would call the you know, the Eschaton middle class, uh, uh, even if they don't necessarily have their each individual doesn't necessarily have their own cornucopia machine. They certainly have access to the products of one, unless they're living under a living on a planet where things are less evenly distributed. But there are certainly plenty of worlds where things are even, you know, are well distributed. Anyway, uh, Capstone is working in a space where they, you know, sort of specialize in providing addictive luxuries um, to
The whole
various
universe?
civilizations.
And now you know multi universes.
Well, yeah, I mean that's the thing. They started off in the original game and were brought on as a I guess you could call them big bad in this one. I mean, like officially they are like the sort of uh, a collective problem rather than like an individual problem. Whereas like the specifically the uh, Trenodon and
Basically,
the
they're
squeeze.
space capitalists with like Vegas and vending machines and subliminal
Sure.
ads and all the flashy things that are required.
They're
To
mad
rule.
about microtransactions. They
Oh,
love
they
them.
love so much. They have like 16 different kinds of bit currency, all bidding against each other. It's a whole stock market situation.
$50 for a hat, one-time use, then it's deleted from your inventory.
Yeah.
Mm.
You can take no more than 4
Horrible.
pictures with it, or you get 20 minutes. It's one of those things.
Horrible.
Yeah.
But the first one's
A
free.
menace.
Like, you know, the
Yeah.
game
Like
in which
in-
they're charging all these microtransactions for is free and fun. But
And in real life, if you take the pictures, your hat shrinks down super tiny, so you can still have it to remind you to buy more hats, but you can't actually wear it.
Hmm.
It's very
So basically,
complicated system.
they turned the whole idea of having readily available goods and created artificial scarcity in order to
Mm-hmm.
fuel
Oh, yeah.
the desire to have
oh yeah.
the ownership,
Limited edition
of
things.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh,
They're
shoot.
the worst.
Yeah. Well, in the tradition of there being one more thing before we start.
Like I said, we try.
Yes.
Mhm.
It occurs to me that we need to work out the bonds between Jakurt and
Yeah, I was wondering when
and
you were going to
everybody,
introduce
and,
your character.
and
Because
Quasi.
normally we build them on stream, and
Yes.
comes fully formed into the world.
Yes. So before we do bonds, let's. Yeah, I know. I'm so bad about that. Oh.
That's all right. You're just working backwards. It's fine.
Yes. Tell us a little bit about Jakurt de Haviland.
Jakort is a uplifted Vulpus. That's the name of the genetic strain that he participates in, which are fox or fox-like beings. It became fashionable in his corner of the universe to emulate pet species, basically. You know, the merging of the idea that humanity should not simply own pets or pet-like creatures, but in fact absorb and merge their
I know that
focus
feel.
on them, right? So you know, it's like the idea of having a cat stay a kitten all the time, except that you're now you're the kitten, or what have you.
An excellent
But
explanation.
that is a trend that is dying down now, and so the people like the Volpus are sort of finding themselves on the other side of the trend wars, if you will. In which the case they now become isolated, they become the last minutes model, but they're still around, and many of them decide that they do like their new identities, and they want to keep them as long as possible. They don't want to change with the trends, and so they're becoming rarer and rarer. The official take on that is that they are special people that have special abilities and should be retained as such. And it's always a choice for them to change back or change forward, as the case be. But there's always that air of outdatedness, of old-timey choice around them, right? That you are keeping a body that should have been, you should have changed a couple of centuries ago, perhaps, or decades, depending on where you are. And he's very fiercely sort of adopted this identity as his own, right? In this lifetime that he has. Individually, he is very much of what I call, you're seeing the D&D matrix, a very lawful type person, bureaucratic, systems orientated, organizational orientated. He feels that he's a big cog in his machine, but a necessary one. He embraces the idea that an ordered universe is the best universe, right? And when things go awry, then his job is to slam, take the hammer to those wayward cogs and either hammer them back into place or break them and for a new one to come in. But the flow of things must continue, right? He understands there's chaos, but chaos is just a temporary malfunction of the system. So that's why he finds himself in this ship traveling to this particular sector as part of the intelligence service, trying to figured out incoming problems and trying to solve them, head them off before it's too late.
Oh, there's definitely an incoming problem with this.
Yes, and with Capcom, I would say Capcom, but this
Capstone.
corporation, Capstone, he's seeing the trends and how it can be fully disruptive to the system, but at the same time, he's trying to figure it out the best way to approach it without doing more harm than good, right? Because if you take away an addict's, the thing that fulfills an addict's addiction, you're not removing the addiction.
Yeah.
You're just removing the item, right? So banning these machines, for example, wouldn't work. Attacking their factories wouldn't work, right? And so he's looking for a way of gathering information to wage this sort of covert war against this entity, without
in itself is
trouble.
doing a covert war.
Exactly.
Influence
and do so in such a way that he's a big believer also in solutions. The real solutions are permanent solutions. Right. There's no stopgaps. A stopgap is not a solution. Just so he's very much that, and I think that what also keeps his ego in check, right? He's the fact that he sees himself as being part of a bigger machine. Otherwise, it would be the kind of person that would think of themselves as being a master and an overlord of things. Although he clearly controls his particular space, he owns it. At least he thinks. At least he thinks he does. We're about to see whether that's true or not.
There's some questions of ownership, very much so, in this particular game.
Yeah. So I think as bonds go, I would say that he's very much, when confronted, he's very much in that smarter. So I'm thinking another PC has something that he covets, and this has to be information. He's an information master. Perhaps this week we have information on data that he can get on addiction rates or whatnot, and he certainly wants to get at it to sort of study them and how that spreads. And is a company has a one size fits all approach to things? So they tailor things. How do they tailor them?
They do tailor.
They definitely tailor.
Yeah.
So he wants to figure out how the tailoring process, and so that if he can't stop this addiction, then he can head off the next one, and the next market jump that they're going to try to make, head them off before they hit that particular niche of the market or create it, right? So he's focusing on that.
Okay.
I think that's
is that asymmetric or reciprocal? That's asymmetric, right?
Asymmetric, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think the other one would be, I think it's total 3 bonds, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. So one moment before we move on from that bond, the squee.
And it's actually as long as there's one bond between, like, a bridge going from one person to each of the other players. Like with that, you have a bond towards me, but I don't have a bond towards you yet.
Yeah, because that's symmetric. I get it.
Yeah, so it doesn't have to be 3 bonds. It can be one reciprocal bond.
Okay, so let's simplify it then, because
that works out.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And I apologize. Nothing is, or few things are loading properly right now. I think, like all the handouts that are set up when I try and pull them up right now, they're just not coming up. God damn it.
And I think the other one would be with O. Henry's group as a mutually defense treaty. In this case, of course, is information for muscle.
Oh, do we have to have bonds with NPCs?
Generally, it's between the PCs, but
okay. So never mind. Sorry, I thought that was
the rules have gone through a lot of
I
redoing.
rejigger them.
And some of the explanations aren't quite as like, they're not in this particular update version. And there's some and Brad either looks very surprised or he's frozen. Okay.
I was frozen.
Okay. It's just like,
or if I'll allow it,
Yeah,
death cult situation, since we're going with the fact that this has changed he has information on them that they were a different way, and he thinks that he could use them to counter the corporation.
Okay. Oh,
You know?
so going back to the initial bond with the
Squeeze.
with the squeeze
Squeeze.
squeeze. Yes. So they have information that you covet, and Adazer, if you could say why why you are not inclined to just hand over this information.
They're another
that's, like,
outside
built in.
force. We've been recently betrayed. Why would we trust another person coming into this conflict?
Okay.
Sorry. Damn.
Makes
We've
perfect
been
sense.
recently
Yeah.
betrayed. Why should we
Yes.
believe anything?
It makes perfect sense. Yes. And also, I like the one that says specialization is tragically backwards. Considering the mutation that the sex and death cult has gone through, I think, and analyzing how they were set up before, I think that would fit that situation, unless it's no longer attached to the character, in which case.
No, everyone thinks I'm tragically backwards. It's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
It's like my bread and butter.
Mm. So yeah, that would be the ones I would use.
Now, does that have a an addendum where do they think you are also tragically backwards? Does it have an opportunity to become reciprocal, or is it one of the strictly asymmetrical?
No, it says
bonds that you have?
either or either. Whenever
Okay.
trying to enlighten the population, make things more complicated for you, mark experience. In other words, trying to perhaps use this cult and trying to get them back into what they were before, or whatever serviceable.
Might give you experience.
Yeah, that's where the conflict lies, right?
So,
They
Spook,
basically
do you think your people think they're backwards with their making everything right with the universe, orderly?
I mean, I know it would be simpler, but I don't
Yeah.
think so.
we don't say, okay.
They sound pretty, logical. in
Also,
their
I don't
own
know if
way.
you've slipped through a time stream, but your beard is like very bushy today. As nice, good job on the beard. Yes.
Thank you. I'm becoming a more powerful wizard each day.
The wonderful
I
goal.
got on the other show. I got called a cheap knockoff of Adam Coble. I was mortified and slightly flattered. But yeah, I was maybe. Should I then be thinking of one to then pick back at?
Sure.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You should think of an asymmetric.
I'm probably then going to go with I did a job for them that didn't go well, and they can choose what the job was.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good. Yeah, I think I would say that again. He's in the Jakut is in the information business, so perhaps trying to use sex to get into certain people's mindsets, get to their minds through their bedrooms, I suppose. But that didn't go so well because jealousy and multiple partners were involved, and became very
Multiple body forms and
multiple forms and old-fashioned ideas of control and boundaries, and well, everybody thought differently, and they might have been a few murders involved, but we're not really sure. People
classic
disappeared.
romance scenario.
Yeah, people disappeared. That's for sure.
That's the shame.
And Jakut doesn't like the fact that it went south in a messy way, right? In an unpredictable way. He's concerned that those disappearances might be worse than temporary death. People might research, maybe they might reappear, and he doesn't like that.
And since we've sort of put boat, I want to say on dry dock, but then that would just be bad. But I'm still saying it.
You've got a
Um,
math squad.
For right now, I think, you know a secret. Lessons. You know a secret about my people. It is the secret that Boat knew. And that secret is, I don't have thousands of years of generational backstory as I thought. I was brought into this as a pet, escaped on the ship, and much like Tribbles, multiplied and began stealing things until they're like, okay, we'll give you your own history.
So an invasive species who thinks they are
Imagine
native.
imagine your hamsters escaped and like started stealing your television, and you found them just like watching soaps and like wearing outfits and like having an economy. Yeah. And you're just like,
And
all right,
instead of
let's go with
stopping
this.
it, you're like, oh, it's so precious.
Let's get them a research team and some ships. Yeah, that's
Yeah, sure. You've been around for thousands of years. Really?
yeah. Yeah, and they were uplifted as a species, but much like yours, they were kept as they weren't humans in the bodies of pets, but they were actual pets. Yeah, but they got into the vents, and they stole a re-sleeving machine, and now they're all like super decked out. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. That works. Yeah.
okay.
So okay.
And you tell me how you found out.
Well, again, because he's investigating all manner of disruptive situations when reports of a new species, especially one that had antisocial behavior, so thieving,
What?
thieving, taking things that don't belong to you, most people consider to be antisocial.
No, that was in our early days. Now we're very civilized. We fill out the proper permits.
But then one of the things about Deckard in his time is the way he does time is that time space is relevant. So he basically everything contracts when he gets. So basically, he trying to figure it out when it happened and how it came to be. And so when he discovered that, it was like he got the report, and then sometime later is like, oh, they already have science and technology. It's like, wait a minute, there's something not right here.
Yeah.
Let's investigate.
Yeah.
And through that investigation, there was eventually came the tie and the discovery of the secret, which was, well, yeah, they're the same species, and this is what happened and how it happened.
Like they were uplifted, sure, like 1,000 years ago, but they were sort of kept at that, like, oh, here, like keeping them like children would, like a very simplistic lifestyle.
Yeah.
But now they are their own entity in the universe.
Yeah.
Recognized on the mindscape as such.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
Oh, and he fears that the next step for the corporation might be to create species specifically to be not merely servant species, but how can I say this? Consumer species.
Right.
Literally creating their own markets.
Well, I hadn't thought of that, but they are almost certainly doing that now.
Yes. What an excellent thing that they were already doing that you just discovered.
Yeah.
Oh, and also, you may know that since I haven't tried to hide it at all, the project that the Squee are working on planetside is to uplift a species of insectoid, like rust monster style creatures. To help them in their efforts for protection and get more people on their side. Because in the mindscape, preaching your philosophy is harder to do because everything's so like broad. So they're like, what if instead of preaching to another species, we just uplifted another species and then they could start from scratch with our ideas? Which everyone knows is going to be a good thing.
Yeah.
What could possibly go wrong?
A gray goo style species. Yes, this is gonna go right.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think there's one last thing that we need to.
Oh, also, wait. The Squee don't know that they aren't like
millennial species.
many generations. Yeah. So both lied to them. Yeah. Just so you know that we don't know our own secret. Okay.
But it wasn't mean. It's just to spare their feelings.
Exactly. It's like, of course, there's a tooth fairy. Yes.
So if you can, so the last thing before we jump in is there's a handout called Play Start, which isn't opening on my side, but hopefully it'll open for you.
It opens on my side.
Okay.
Yeah, with you.
Okay. So it's just my side that's having connectivity issues. Uh,
No,
in that.
I think I already did pick the corporate power grab. So
Oh, okay. Yes. So that is the common threat is definitely the corporate power grab.
And we all sort of like pick together for that big one.
Yeah. But there's the under that there's the individual scenario. If you could pick one of those. Normally it would be two, but
Quick start.
Yeah.
I think again, especially for special circumstances, fits well.
Okay. So yeah, that would mean that you are that you're to some degree beholden to a separate intelligence agency, special circumstances, and they'll have like various demands on you.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense with the character.
Okay.
You know, the cog in the machine
Sure.
kind of thing. Yeah.
It's just a blue collar galactic space organization just doing your job.
About that.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. And just so you know, Brett, just before we get started, I have to be out here like at 4.
Okay.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
That's fine. So, Jakurt, you have how long have you been in the system?
I think I arrived about, well, I guess in what, a month, about 6 months or so, standard, whichever the standard may be. And if I can open the scene.
Sure, by all means, yeah.
I find myself in the information center of the ship, my stealth craft, which is the main hub of our operations, and it's called the One Prayer, because it's an old joke among espionage agents. You only need that one prayer to save you from every circumstance, right? And it's also the one thing you don't never want to be in a situation in, where you only have one prayer to live, like one. So it's called the One Prayer, and he is in an office, but there's no furniture, no just holographic displays and different people talking and pushing hollow buttons, and he's sort of in the middle in a sort of circular space, going around talking to different people and putting up data. Clearly he feels that being in motion is better than being sit down at a desk or something like that, and so he's talking to his different people. He prefers to have at least a couple of assistants that he can speak face to face rather than up to the mindscape, to remind him that the people he's dealing with are actual individuals and are assets to be valued.
And also, I'm sorry. There's also value in that while there's all sorts of encryption and whatnot for over the mindscape, it's not perfectly secure. It's possible to crack it and spy on people that way.
So he's talking, and as he's walking around with perhaps a data pad or the equivalent here, he's Williams. I want the updated report on the Clearwater situation, of course. Yes. We need 5 minutes. I need that. Sandros, I need the new weapon specifications for agents on the field. There have been some complaints about jamming about the new dot guns. We have to look on that, okay? And so he keeps walking around and doing this, and a call comes in, a report about the Squisby. Like, yes, and he sort of goes into the mindscape to get that particular call. Is the Mindscape a sort of a virtual situation like in Ghost in the Shell where you have your own windows inside your mind, or is that fully telepathic? How is the description of the Mindscape, or has been established as such?
It's
We sort of dealt with it like the holodeck.
Yeah, like there you can send like large amounts of information, essentially telepathically, but there's also like the you can choose your own visual interface so that it can look like anything the holodeck could produce.
Okay. Well, he just steps into an area of the office which has been reserved for communications, and it comes up, and it's like, yes, I've been waiting for your report. What do you have to say? And he gets whatever piece of information he's about to get from the squeaky. Yeah.
So let's actually do a roll about that so that it's so that maybe something new comes up here.
Okay,
so under information moves.
Yeah. Search your Mindscape or scan?
Search the Mindscape.
Mm-hmm.
You should just be able to click on it.
Oof. Open it strong.
That's 13, yeah.
Okay. Wow.
I know you just got here, but all of my rolls in one game could equal a 13. Yeah.
I just jinxed myself. That's
what it's the first roll of the game. It's very important.
Yeah. Can only go downhill from here.
Yeah.
So you can ask a question off that list and then ask a follow-up based off of that.
Okay. The first question you ask, Agent 25. First of all, what is the status with the captured Sweet Sweet?
They are being held in a different facility from the one that was attacked, liberated, depending on your point of view. I believe. I believe just for a setting the scene thing, or setting common information thing, we found out last time that Pteranodon did get the information on where this secondary facility was. Like they narrowed it down. Does that sound right to everybody?
Yeah.
Okay. But that I don't know that this report necessarily reveals that. Just that
just one
just that there is another facility out there at which more Squeaky are being held, and that it certainly looks like this is gonna continue into more of all the projections show that this is gonna devolve into pretty open conflict. I think that's pretty much the.
And my second question would be same to Agent 25. Now that we identified him, yes. What is the absorption rate of the new machines in the Squeaky camp? Referring to the pinball machines that were mentioned before.
Oh yes, those are spreading like wildfire, and while
okay, can I say something?
Perhaps
the report says something like it's been turning like wildfire. Some modifications to the earlier designs have been made, and it cuts to like a pile of pinball machines where like Squeakies have gotten so mad at chasing the ball around that they've broken through the top glass. So now it's digital.
Yeah.
They're like cats at some point, or they're just
Okay.
Yeah, completely violating the user agreement.
Yeah.
Uh, so, while the first, many of the first machines that were sent were for free. There's now some sort of debt being incurred that hasn't been that probably hasn't really been acknowledged because the whole idea of debt is sort of a throwback.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So
So yeah,
basically,
they're piling on credit cards essentially.
mhm. It is as I feared. They are adapting quicker to the situation. Hmm. And the fact that these creatures have destroyed multiple machines just means that their addiction rate is also extremely high and fast. Hmm. And
They're
violent.
very passionate people.
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very violent as well.
Yeah, there are some people who have probably like ordered multiple machines just so that they can tear them apart and see how they tick.
Yeah.
Mm.
And there's definitely like multiple machines like slalomed together for like the ultimate pinball experience. And there's like not table tennis, like beer pong, canoe racing. I don't know if you have this where you're from, but
Yeah,
everyone
yeah.
lines up one side of the table and another group on the other side of the table, and it starts with the first person, and they drink their drink really fast, and it goes down the line. Of course, non-alcoholic drinks. My face is very serious. Yeah, so they're like inventing new sports around it to get more people involved.
Okay. Yeah, that's although that he sort of strokes his chin and goes like, yeah, it is very interesting because perhaps we could exploit this self-invention and modification of the existing patents. If we could spin them off in such a way that they interfere with the adoption rate, make the systems their own, then the corporation could not claim them, and they will have to spend a lot of energy into trying to recover their patents and copyrights upon this. Perhaps that's a way of co-opting the addictions rate. Alexa. Thank you, Agent 25. That is all for now. So screen goes off. And by the way, the screen just shows like a silhouette of generic silhouette of the
Classic.
person.
Yeah. Backlit.
Yeah. And he sort of steps out again. Williams, I think it's time that we move directly and intervene directly with the situation. Have the captain change our course. We're heading to dirt.
Very well, sir. Are you certain that direct intervention is of course? So yeah, I mean they don't push back hard, but they're like
they're
they
concerned.
start to pose the question and fine.
Yeah. So off goes the ship. If it jumps into hyperspace or what have you, it's
okay.
It crashes into a giant sex robot.
Could be.
I believe that's in Roger's basement still.
Or is it one of those things you're like, oh, let's proceed there, and it shows like it scans back from your ship, and then like clinging to the underside secretly is Spook's character, like on the underside of not like an Imperial warship.
No, it's what
Falcon.
It's the
Clenched in my teeth.
Exactly.
The one prayer basically is more like a space yacht kind of thing, stealthy, but it's a space yacht kind of thing.
Okay, it's not like a remora on the side of a shark.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's go with that. I mean, not necessarily the remora thing, but you get a contact from navigation, saying that sir, or what honorific do you usually
I think
is it
director.
Director. A course has been laid in, but we have identified uh, a living object within 25,000 clicks in open space.
Are the sensors still picking up space whales again? I mean, we had this checked up last week. Please tell me that this is not another false alarm.
No, Director. It's been double checked.
Well,
it's not large enough to be a space whale. It's humanoid in size.
Oh, in the middle.
Or Vulpanoid in size.
Yeah. Well, then we go into heightened alert, see what this is, and prepare a shuttle to intercept and scan this anomaly. Stand by. And stand by to receive the update. Yeah. And one of the I have several agents on the ship. They basically take a shuttle, look a closer look, and scan it and whatnot, so that the one prayer is not put in danger.
Okay.
But they're in communication just in case.